my sweetheart?
I just started on this. You love me, right?
We're rolling?
You do love me, right?
Of course I love you.
I'm kind of bad right now.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome to True Revival Temple Apostolic Ministries. I'm Karen. A few weeks ago on Thursday evening when the pastor was talking, there was something he was saying, and to be honest, I don't remember what he was saying. Hopefully he's not listening. He's not, so okay, I don't remember what he was saying. But a verse came to mind based on what he was saying, and I pulled that up and looked at it. And ever since then, this verse has just been kind of sticking with me. And I was thinking about it and thinking about this verse, how it affected my life in the past versus what I've learned from it and where I am now. And I thought, okay, I'm going to share with you about this verse and how it now applies to True Revival Temple. Yeah. And based on some of the additional things that the pastor has been saying about where we're going to be going in 2020 with our 2020 vision, right? And also based on some of the things that Ryan has been saying over the past few weeks when he's been doing Sunday school here. So to start out, I'm just going to give some testimony first, because I believe in testimonies for everything. My ex-husband really did a number on me.
Come on here.
And what he did was he forged my name to a bunch of credit cards. He took a second mortgage out on my place, all this kind of stuff, forging my name. Because in the state of Maine, it is perfectly legal for husbands to sign their wives' names and wives to sign their husbands' names. It's legal. So he did all of that to me and put me almost $50,000 in debt. And then he took off. And all these bills coming to me in my name. And so I spent the longest time just struggling with every single day. There was a new bill coming in. I had no idea what it was, when it was going to happen, and how much it was going to be. And it did that for the longest time. Fortunately, I was going to a wonderful pastor at the time, did some great counseling and how to deal with all of this without becoming bitter, because I don't want to become bitter, right? I don't want to become bitter. So how do I deal with every single day there's a new bill, more financial debt, everything going on without becoming bitter and still try to find a way to forgive my ex-husband? What? That's a lot. That is a lot. But we have to. God commands us to. So I had to figure out how to do it. So the pastor was wonderful to help me through that whole process. But while I was going through that process, it was tough. I worked 5 jobs so I could bring in enough money so I could keep paying whatever bill was the next one to come in. Yeah, I was working 5 jobs at one time. Yep, I was doing any little job I could find at the time, whether it was working my regular job. I was a school teacher. I was working retail nights and evenings. I was working as a massage therapist at the time whenever I could get gigs for that. I can't remember what the other ones are. The other one was I was delivering telephone books.
Wow.
Doing that. You've done that. You know that? Yeah. Anything I could do to make a little extra money. I was taking care of this elderly woman on the weekends that, not every weekend, but every once in a while, the family wanted to be able to go away and take their kids away, but somebody needed to stay with Nana while they were gone. So I would go Friday nights and stay until Sunday mornings and take care of Nana. So 5 different jobs that I was doing just to bring in whatever money I could. And so during that time, of course, I was very tired, very frustrated, a lot going on, struggling with it all. But I started going to, on Friday night, there was this Christian social group that was getting together. And it didn't matter what your background was or anything. It was all people that loved the Lord. That we would get together and have some food, sing some songs, and there was a pool table and foosball and darts and stuff like that, and just have a nice social evening together. So that was every Friday night. So when I could, I started going there just so that I could have some sort of relief out of all the stress of my life at that time. And just for, it was from 7 to 9 Friday nights, just for a few hours. That was great. And so I got to make some new friends there. Well, one person that I met was this guy named Corey. Corey was a nice guy, but he came from a very legalistic church background. Very legalistic. And as much as I enjoyed talking with him and hanging out with him and being friends with him, there was also a lot of things he said that was very condemning to me as well. And it just was discouraging sometimes. Well, one of the things he had said to me, he started telling me about how he had this idea of, he wanted to move to the northern part of Maine where there was this huge lake. And he wanted to build boats and sell them for people to buy and use on this huge lake. That was his plan. He was going to do that. And he said, you got to have a vision. Karen, what's your vision? And I was like, I'm just trying to work 5 jobs and pay the bills and, have a couple hours on Friday to have some fun, That's it. That's all I've got. That is all I've got. So I didn't really have a vision. And he kept saying to me, without vision, my people will perish. And I think he's got that up. Yes. Where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he. So I would read that verse and I would hear him say it, and I'd say, Lord, I don't have a vision. I don't. I'm just struggling day to day just to make ends meet. And I don't want to perish. But it says if I don't have a vision, I'm going to perish. Lord, I don't want to perish. What does this mean? I felt so condemned every time I talked with him and he mentioned this verse to me. It was awful. Very frustrating for me.
Right.
So, some of the things that I learned through this was that Corey's understanding of that verse was completely wrong. It was. It was completely wrong, and it was damaging to me because of it. So that's one of those times when you've got to be careful what you say to people, because how it might come across to you as positive and the right thing, but when you say it to somebody else who's struggling at that time, somebody else who is not, I was still a baby Christian at the time, and I'm still learning, and somebody's saying this to me, that makes it worse. It's like, God hates me. I'm gonna perish. Well, I'm not trying to. I'm trying to do the best I can. So be careful with your words. Be careful with your words. Be careful how you use God's words with other people sometime. Remember, we need to edify, we need to encourage, we need to build people up, right? Not tear them down. And this verse was tearing me down every time he said it to me, which was a lot. So, over the past, this was 15 years ago when I first met him and he started telling me all this. 15 years later, in those 15 years, I've gotten out of debt. I went back to school, not once, but twice, to get my doctorate. I have traveled. I've met the most wonderful man, who is now my most wonderful husband. I'm going to a great church, and I've made some wonderful friends. Okay? In the 15 years. 15 years later, I talked with a mutual friend of mine and Corey's. He's still living in the same house. He's still doing the same thing. He has not moved to Northern Maine to build boats. He's not built a single boat at all in the past 15 years. Wow. Yeah. And here he's telling me without vision, I was going to perish. But look at him. Where is he? So just think about this a little bit and think about, why didn't it work for Corey? Why didn't it work for him? Why did it work for me? Here I am. I am incredibly blessed. And I'm sure he's going to say he's blessed as well. But what he was hoping his life would be like has not happened. Why? Okay? Think about that a little bit. Why? Last week, Ryan talked about building a house. And you've got all the supplies. You've got the zeal to do it. You've got the ambition. You've got all the tools. But you don't have the blueprints for it. What kind of house do you make? Very poorly made house. It is a shack, right? It's a fallen down shack. It's not stable. Lousy foundation. The roof leaks. It's horrible, right? Ryan talked about that. You've got to have the plans. So, what can you say is a comparison between Ryan's lousy house, or his house builders, not him, his builders, who are a lousy house builder, and about Corey and his lack of fruition on his plans as well? What can you say about them? What's a comparison? Anybody make one? What's that? He didn't have a vision. Here he's thinking that he had a vision and was telling me that I didn't have a vision and that I was going to perish, but really, he's the one that didn't have a vision. He's the one that perished. None of his stuff came through. He's the one that didn't. He was talking the big talk, but he didn't have anything. Yeah, it wasn't there. Corey had the wrong definition of a vision. What he had was a dream. We all have dreams, right? We all have dreams, but there's a difference between having a dream and having a vision, right? So, versus me, I had a vision. I had a plan for how am I going to get out of debt. I had a plan for I want to go back to school. I had a plan for once I go back to school, I want to get a job that lets me do this travel. I had prayed that maybe someday I'd meet the nice, great guy in my life, but you know what? I was letting God handle that one. If God said here he is, then here he is. If he said not right now, then not right now. I'm okay with that. And then I also had made plans to go on another trip to college and get my doctorate. And I had these plans. I had a vision. This is how I was going to do it. Ryan knew that before we got married. When we first started dating, I said, so you know, this is my plan. This is what I'm doing. And I'm not going to deviate from that. I've worked way too hard at this point to do it. And he's like, I support you 100%. It's great. So I had a vision. I did it. The Lord blessed me. I did not perish. Okay? I did not perish. God took care of me through it all. I had the vision. A vision is a precise, clearly defined goal with a detailed plan and a timetable for achieving that goal. I'm going to say that one more time. A vision is a precise, clearly defined goal with a detailed plan and a timetable for achieving that goal. So in my story, I said that Corey had the wrong definition of a vision. Okay? He had a dream, really. He didn't have a vision. He didn't have a timetable. He didn't have goals. He didn't have anything. He wasn't clear. He wasn't precise on this is what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it, this is how long it's going to take me. He didn't have any of that. But also in my story, I had the wrong definition of perish. Because I was thinking, I'm going to perish. I'm going to suffer. I'm going to be in agony. I'm going down. God is sending me down because I don't have a vision. I had the wrong definition of perish. The Hebrew word for perish is para. Okay? Para. It literally means to let go or to be out of control or to be unconstrained. So without vision, it's saying people will be out of control.
Come on here. I hear
Right?
you.
And that word is actually used multiple times throughout the Old Testament. And another example of that is in Exodus. That's Exodus 32:25, which says, and when Moses saw that the people were naked, for Aaron had made them naked unto their shame among their enemies. Aw, isn't that sweet? He was paying attention so much to me that he forgot to do his job. Exodus 32:25. So where it says, and when Moses saw that the people were naked, where it says the word naked, in the original Hebrew, it's that same word para. Okay? Which means to let go, to be out of control, to be, what was the other word? Unconstrained. So when they translated it, they translated say naked, because if you just said they were out of control, okay, but if you say they were naked, whoa, something's going on there. They're all messed up there. Aaron let them get way beyond where they should be. Okay? So that's why they say naked there. They emphasize it was a mess. It was a hot mess. Okay? But it's that same word as we said back in the Proverbs verse. So back to Proverbs 29:18. What is it really saying there? So when it's saying without vision the people will perish, it is saying without a plan the people are out of control. But he that is obedient
Come on here.
is happy.
There you go.
Got it? Where there is no plan, the people are out of control. It is a mess. It is disorganized. It is chaotic. But if there's discipline, if there's order, if there's obedience, People are happy. Okay? Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. So Ryan also talked about the Titanic. The Titanic was built by professionals. The Ark was built by an amateur. Right? What's the difference? The Titanic was built by man with man's plans, man's dreams, man's goals, man's pride.
Come on here.
Right? That's how the Ark was. That's how the Titanic was made. The Ark, on the other hand, was built by an obedient man who loved the Lord, who served the Lord, who was not participating in the world. Right? He was obedient. He listened to God. He did not make the plans. God told him, you are going to build an ark, and this is how big it's going to be, and this is the materials you're going to use, and all that stuff. This is why you're doing it. It was God's plan. Noah just followed it and said, yes, Lord, I'm your obedient servant. I'm going to do that. Proverbs 16:18. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Right? We've all heard that one before. What happened to the Titanic?
It went down.
It went down. It failed. They were talking about how, this ship is never going to sink. It's indestructible. Boom. It never even made its first trip. God told them, you ain't playing those games with me. Right?
4 days.
Yeah. So what's the difference between our vision and a vision from God? What's the difference? Somebody get some ideas? Our own vision versus vision from God.
The vision from God is set.
Yeah.
It is definitely going to come to pass.
Yes.
Our vision, we can't rely on our own, intellect, because we will fall. We are limited.
We are limited.
God is unlimited.
Yes. He knows it all. He knows it all.
That's a really good point, Elder. And in the spirit of transparency, I would say my vision does come with a little bit of pride. Like, I want to be here in 6 months so I can exist, and here in 12 months, so all the people who doubted me just see that, I did everything I can. So it does come with it.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of pride there. So you got to work on that and say, Lord, I want to do this and give you the glory, and say, you made this happen for me, so I can say that it came from you. Right? Yeah. Okay. So we talked about Noah. We talked about the ark. Another example, Joseph, with the famine. God gave him a vision, right? I don't remember all the details now. Does anybody remember all the details? Yeah? So God gave him a vision. Do you remember it?
Yeah.
All right, speak.
Yeah, so
Good boy, you get a treat later.
that was
By the way, that's my husband, in case you're wondering. For the folks in the back that are like, whoa, what did she just
I
say?
had to tell them real quick, hey, they're married. We're like that normal. Yeah, so it was 7 good-looking cows, and then the 7 ugly, all bony, ribbed cows come and eat them.
Yep.
That was the first dream, or was that the second? That might have been the second. I think the first one was with the birds. Little favorite birds. It was wheat, wasn't it? It was wheat.
Chiefs.
Yeah, it was the first one, the
Sheep
sheep,
and
and then the second ones were all nasty looking and rotted and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, that was his warning that 7 years you got good time, and after that you got problems.
Right. Right. So God gave him the vision. You're going to have 7 years, things are going to be good. 7 years, it ain't going to be good. You ain't going to have no food or nothing. So he gave Joseph the vision, and there's up to Joseph to then implement it. Right? And so he spent 7 years of storing up food and preparing for the 7 years of famine. All right? So what happens if we don't stick to the plan or the vision from God? We're going to perish. We're going to be out of control. We're the same. And a great example of that in the Bible is the tribe of Israel. Right?
Yes.
How long did they perish?
40
years. They went wandering for 40 years. Yep, because of their lack of control. So, If we don't stick to the plan, we get a serious problem. And we want God's plan, right? Amen? Amen. If people are not focused on the common goal and they're all doing their own thing because they don't have that clarity of what the vision is, you have a tough time getting to the promised land. Right? Whatever that promised land, whatever that long-term vision goal is, you're going to have a hard time getting there. Even as a group, if collectively TRT says we have a vision, but pastor's going in one direction, some people are saying do what pastor's doing, other people are saying, oh, okay, well that's nice, but I'm going to go check this out over here, or I'm not going to put this effort in, I'm not going to put my tithe in because I want to go to Starbucks instead, whatever they want to do, then there's no clarity of the vision, there's no commitment to that vision, what's going to happen? It's right. So we all need to be one group unified together with the vision and go together with it.
That's right.
Right? Got to stick to the plan, and the plan comes from God. Okay. Proverbs 16:9. A man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his path. So we can make the plans, but we've got to trust in God that he's going to direct how it goes. So God might tell Joseph, in 7 years there's going to be a famine. Okay? There's going to be a famine. I'm telling it to you now. Prepare for it now. Joseph had to do the work. Joseph is the one that had to decide, how am I going to prepare for this famine? I've got a whole country of Egypt, the whole area actually, that is depending on me to figure out how to protect them in 7 years when there's no food. So we got to have the plan. And we can make the step, we can make the plans, but we've got to understand God is actually guiding it and directing it. We just follow it.
That's right.
All right. One of my favorite verses, Jeremiah 29:11. Everybody know that one? People know that one? I know it in a different translation. I learned it New American Standard versus King James. But in King James, for I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord. Thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. So the first part of that verse is about God has the plans we need already for us. He's already got it. It's one of those things, when I used to teach at a private Christian high school, I used to talk with the students, and I taught chemistry and physics, the physical science classes, or some of the classes that I taught, and we talk about energy. Energy is not created and destroyed. There's a constant amount of energy all throughout life, right? And I tell them, when God said, let there be light, boom, all the energy the entire universe is ever going to need for all of its existence happened right then and there. Not created new, not destroyed, boom, there it is. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah. That is cool. When you think of it like that. My students didn't get as excited about it as I get excited about it. I think that's cool. But they're like, yeah, okay.
Bless the Lord.
Yeah, that's probably not what my students were thinking at the time. You know? It's more of a, bless me, Lord, get me through this class.
Yeah.
The first part of this verse is about that God has the plans that we need. The second part is about how these plans give us hope and a future.
That's right.
Right? God's got the plans for us. If we follow, if we're obedient, if we're of one accord, we have hope, we have future. Okay? So, a few weeks ago, Brian started talking about hope during the Sunday school session. He started talking about hope. Well, the power to excel in whatever we do, the ability to do it and exceed at it, that is our vision. The fuel that lights that power is hope. So it's a great tie-in of him talking about hope, and then I'm so appreciative how the Lord just put all this together and set everything up for, okay, Karen, now you do this. I love that. Isn't it great when God does it? Yes. So, hope is what we need as the fuel for our vision. Proverbs 13:12. Hope deferred maketh the heart sick, but when the desire cometh, it is a tree of life. Hope deferred maketh the heart sick, but when the desire cometh, it is a tree of life. What is this verse talking about? What's it saying? Make any ideas? Yeah.
Yeah, hope deferred. I was thinking like, you're hoping for something.
Yep.
And things go the opposite direction. You are discouraged, you become discouraged.
Yeah.
Because it didn't come the way you might have planned.
Yeah.
So, that could be very discouraging thing to you. Because it looks like the things you bring, the hope is not come past. And you can see it in all of the saints' lives.
Oh,
Like
yes.
Joseph.
Yep.
I mean, he had a dream about, that the sun, the moon, the 11 stars were bowed down to him. And yet, he's thrown in a pit. Right.
Nobody's going to bow down to me.
Everything turned to a nightmare, But it still was going to come to pass.
Yes.
In time.
In God's time.
In God's time.
In God's time.
Yeah.
Yes. That is great. I think about things like, anybody ever think they're going to get a job, get a promotion or something? And your boss kind of gave you hint that you're going to be getting it. And then when it comes time to announce who's getting the job, and it went to somebody else, you had that hope. And then just think about how you felt afterwards when you didn't get it. Your heart was sick, wasn't it? Yeah. Or how about when your kids promise, I promise Mom on Saturday morning I will clean my room. You think, yeah, it's not going to happen. But a little part of you had some hope that maybe they'd actually follow through on it, right? That would be nice if they actually did clean their rooms. So Saturday morning comes up and you give them some time. Okay, maybe they're nice and quiet, and you think, oh, maybe they're cleaning. I'm going to go to this and that. And then you come back later and you peek, and the room is a chaotic mess, right? Yeah, so you knew realistically it wasn't going to happen because you're the parent and you know how that child's going to be. But a small part of you had some hope that it was going to happen. And that little bit of hope, your heart got sick, right? Yeah. So that verse is talking about there. But when it does come, when you do get that promotion, when your child does clean their room, how are you going to be? What's that? When they're 30. So at 10, you tell them to clean their room. 20 years later, they finally clean it. Hey! It is a tree of life. What does that mean? It actually happened. What you were hoping for actually happened. It's a tree of life. What does that mean?
I can think of joy, happiness.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Also, it just shows how good and faithful God is.
Yes.
How good and faithful He is. Just to wait on Him and Him bringing it to pass in His way and His time.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's a wonderful thing. What you wanted, what you were hoping for, God made it happen. It is our hope, whenever it comes to fruition, what do we need to do? When whatever we've hoped for has happened, we got to give glory to God. Amen. That is it. You've got to give the glory to God. Proverbs 3:6. In all ways, acknowledge Him. He shall direct your path. In all ways, acknowledge Him. Right? Okay. So we need to give Him the glory in everything. In every step that you take towards your goals, towards your vision, every little step along the way, you got to give God glory. Every little step. So maybe you are looking to move into a new house like we were. So this past summer, we were praying about it. We prayed a lot about it. And we thought about these are the things that we need to happen in order for us to get there. Every step along the way. We prayed about it, and when it did happen, these little steps here and there, we thank God for it. We would, like, Dale would say, hey, I can come up and I can help you move. When we were like, we need some help. And that night when we're saying our prayers in bed, God, thank you for Dale today. Thank you that he can help us.
For 2 months.
For every weekend for 2 months. That was a huge blessing. Yes. But whatever it is, anything along the way, God is providing for you. You got to give the glory for it, right? Okay. So, now we know. Yeah, sir.
So, and always remember this. Even learn how to give God the glory, even if there's a misstep.
Very true.
Even if something don't go quite the way you want it. It's easy to give God the glory when it's all nice and right. Can you give God the glory when things are not going according to your plan, or you don't see how God will work it out in His plan?
Yes.
Because we get used to praising God. Oh, thank you, God, for this. But can we say, God, I thank you, even in the hard time I'm going through?
Yes.
So I think
that's a very good point. So when we're moving and it's a Saturday and Dale's up there with his truck, but it's raining, we still have to thank God. Yep. There's a song that's on the radio now I hear a lot, and I love that song about bring on the rain. Bring on the rain, Lord. If it came from you, then bring it.
I mean, like when the U-Haul door jammed?
Or when the U-Haul door jammed. A lot of things like that. Yeah. So, now we know, number one, we need a vision. Yes? If you want something to happen, if you want it to come true, you need a vision. Not just a dream. Not just say, oh, wouldn't this be nice? You need a vision. Number two, we need God's vision.
come on here.
We need not just our vision, it needs to be God's vision for us. Whether it's God's vision for us individually in our lives or God's vision for this church. We need God's vision.
Come on here.
Right? Number three, we need to be hopeful that God's vision will come to fruition. If God says it's going to happen, it's going to happen. We don't have to doubt it. We can have hope in it. So we need to keep that hope in what God's vision is for us.
Come on here.
And number four, whether good or bad, no matter what happens, we give God the glory.
That's right.
Right? We give God the glory. Either way. So, I'm going to actually finish a little bit early, Pastor.
I got you.
Okay? So I can do this next week.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to wrap this up a little bit here. So we've been talking about you got to have a vision and why it's important to have a vision and what to do with that vision. But now we need to talk about how do we create a vision, right? Okay, how do we create a vision? Because, you know what? Noah had to build an ark. And just looking at the trees, didn't cut them down and didn't saw them the way they needed to be to the right size and put the ark together, right?
Come on here, sis.
Yeah.
Come on here.
It didn't happen. Noah had to do the work, and he needed to know how to do the work, and he needed to know when to do the work. He had to, rearrange his time schedule for the next 100 years.
His life.
His whole life. I had to rearrange one day for me, and it's like, wait a minute, I'm frazzled just by having to change one day. I can't imagine changing the whole next 100 years, the whole century. I don't even live that long. I wouldn't know what to do. So, but Noah had to do that. So he had to rearrange everything. He had to know, where am I going to get the wood? He had to know how to cut the wood and get it all ready to go. How? Okay, so I've got all this wood. I've got to put it all together, right? What am I going to use to get all the wood to stick together? Okay, now I can't just magically have sap appear. I've got to go get it. You had to make a lot of plans and timing, especially like with the sap and everything that he's using or the tar or whatever it is. You get a time when you're going to do that.
Yeah.
Anybody ever try to make a Thanksgiving big meal? You don't want the potatoes cooked and done, but you still got 3 more hours before the turkey's ready, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So you got to time it all out. You got to plan it. You set goals. You had a vision for a Thanksgiving meal.
Yeah.
So for that vision, you knew this is what I can do, this is when I can do it, this is how I can do it, this is what I need. I need to go buy the stuff to make the stuffing. I need the stuff to make the potatoes. I need the stuff to make the pie. I need, whatever you need. I got to get these things. I got to put them together. This is when I can put it together. This is how much I need. All the plans are there, right? You did that. So we need to think about that. Yeah.
When you get finished, I got something.
Okay. So just as Joseph had to plan it all out for storing crops, and just as Noah had to work on having all the supplies and everything ready for making the ark, we need to do the same thing if we have right now a dream that we want to make a vision.
Come on here.
Okay?
Go.
So what I'm going to do next week,
Go ahead.
we're going to talk about the process of creating a vision, and we're going to use TRT's 2020 vision as an example of how to create a vision that we can all get behind, support, be a part of, be unified, be of one accord, and do it so that this church grows for God's glory. Sound good? Sounds good. Yes.
So this praise was enjoyed the presentation. And your next session, are you going to be dealing with how like your personal things that you had to do to sacrifice you to make to save and pay off your bills and stuff like that?
Whenever I give this as a testimony, somebody always asks that question. It was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of tears, a lot of sweat. Like I said, I worked 5 jobs. Look, I ate rice and beans for months. Actually, not even beans a lot of times because I can't stand beans. But a lot of rice. A lot of times that's all I lived on. Fortunately, I was going to a women's Bible study that we got together every, I can't remember, was it Tuesday nights or something like that? Every Tuesday night we'd get together and we'd alternate who would bring the refreshments. Any leftovers, because they knew how I was struggling at that time, and they were kind enough to give me whatever was left over. But it was kind of interesting in how God's mouth works, is there was always more food brought in and donated to me than what we actually needed for the women's Bible study for our little refreshments. So, but there were a lot of things like that. The Lord blessed me in so many unique, special ways to help me get through it because I stayed obedient to Him. And let me tell you something, during that whole time, I never missed an opportunity to tithe.
Say that one more time.
The whole time when I was struggling, I never once, eating just rice for months, I never missed an opportunity to tithe. I did that. I was committed to that. I was not going to give that up no matter what. Right? So, no, I'm not going to do that next week. That was not my plan, but if you ever want to hear some of that, because it was a lot of crazy things that I had to do to get there. A lot of crazy things. Yeah. It is a good testimony. And sometime I will share, in a future time when I'm up here. Okay? All right. So, Pastor, you had something else you wanted to add?
Yeah.
Yay.
Praise the Lord, everybody.